Right now on Morning News Now, making her case, Vice President Kamala Harris addressing supporters for the first time as a 2024 presidential candidate.
We have work to do. We have doors to knock on. We have people to talk to. We have phone calls to make. And we have an election to win.
The VP now working to earn Democrat support with the help of President Biden just 2 days after he dropped his re-election bid.
The name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala.
And now with more high-profile Democrats pledging their support, Harris has won enough delegates to secure the party's nomination. But is that enough to beat Donald Trump in November? We have team coverage. Plus, failure and fallout. The head of the Secret Service facing a bipartisan grilling on Capitol Hill after last week's assassination attempt against Donald Trump. The tense exchange over lapses in security as lawmakers call for her to resign. Also this morning, trouble on the tarmac. Delta passengers bracing for another day of cancellations and delays following last week's computer outage. More on the mess that has left tens of thousands of people stranded. And out of office, but still checking your work email, you are not alone. Many employees say they feel guilty if they don't work on vacation. We'll unpack the problem and what you can do about it.
That's me right there.
Working
on vacation. All right, good to have you with us on this Tuesday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Vicki Witt in for Savannah Sellers. We begin this Tuesday morning with the race for the White House. Vice President Kamala Harris now officially on the campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination.
Here's the big headline this morning. An NBC News tally finds a majority of pledged delegates for the Democratic convention have endorsed Harris. That cements her status as the clear frontrunner for the nomination, less than 48 hours after President Biden announced he would drop his re-election bid. Later today, she'll be in Milwaukee for her first official event as a candidate. The Harris campaign announced it has brought in a record $81 million in just 24 hours. In her first full day as a candidate yesterday, the vice president welcomed college athletes to the White House, stepping in as President Biden continues to recover from COVID. She later visited the campaign headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware, speaking to campaign staffers as the nation watched and listened.
So in the days and weeks ahead, I, together with you, will do everything in my power to unite our Democratic Party, to unite our nation, and to win this election.
Meanwhile, former U.S. Attorney Eric Holder has been tapped to lead what's going to be a very compressed vetting process for potential running mates for Harris. This is according to sources familiar with the matter. Several elected officials, including those from battleground states, are reported to be in consideration to join the ticket.
We have team coverage ahead this hour, including the latest on who may potentially join Harris on the Democratic ticket. Let's begin with NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba with the latest on the Harris campaign. Monica, good morning. So the Democratic Party quickly consolidating around the vice president. Tell us about Harris's first full day as a candidate for president, including the messages it appears that she's focusing her campaign on.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary first full day of the Harris campaign in action, Joe and Vicki, and that's because Vice President Harris decided that after that NCAA event at the White House, she wanted to go to Wilmington, Delaware to see the former Biden campaign headquarters, which now becomes her own. And she started to lay out her own theory of the case here, using some elements that we've heard in stump speeches when she's been on the trail, but really for the first time putting together how she's going to use her background as a prosecutor and as an attorney general to really prosecute the case against the Republican nominee. Take a listen to how she put that.
Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law? Yes! Or a country of chaos, fear, and hate?
Now, we saw a little bit of this when back then former Senator Harris was running in the primary against Joe Biden in 2020. That was a little bit of her campaign message, but obviously it takes on new meaning now that she has been vice president, and she will try to couple that with what they've been able to accomplish in their view in the last 3.5 years as well, guys.
You know, Monica, President Biden is expected to return to the White House today for the first time since he tested positive for COVID. We heard from him yesterday on the phone for the first time since he submitted that letter dropping out of the race. What's he now saying about the race and what his expectations are in terms of his address to the nation and now supporting Vice President Harris on her presidential bid?
And this was an added element to what we saw there at campaign headquarters. President Biden did call into that event. He did make a couple of opening remarks, but his main takeaway to the staff there who had been working for him for the last year and a half was to really embrace his vice president. And here's a little bit more about what he had to say about this dramatic shift now.
It was the right thing to do. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing. The name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala.
So he said that he is going to be campaigning for her. We know he is returning to the White House today. And it seems like he does want to give this major speech detailing his decision about bowing out of the 2024 race. The exact timing, venue, format, and location of that is still being worked out. But we do know, according to sources close to the president, that he wants one of his first major acts upon returning to the White House to be this speech. So I think we should see that at some point in the coming days, guys.
Monica, I mean, Democrats are still moving forward with plans to select their nominee virtually ahead of the party's convention next month. Real quick, explain why they need to do this early. What should we know about this process?
And before everything changed and before we saw this seismic movement, the plan had been for the Democratic National Committee to do this in a virtual roll call ahead of an August 7th deadline that they say is about an Ohio ballot issue. So they had already kind of had those wheels in motion, though there had been some question about exactly when it would take place. But the point being, it would have to happen before the August 19th Democratic National Convention in Chicago. So now they're trying to figure out whether VP Harris is going to be able to have her own running mate named by then to also then be formally nominated. They're still figuring out a little bit of that part of the process, which is a key part now.
Monica Alba now covering the Harris campaign. Monica, thank you so much.
Well, now that the reset button has been pressed on the race for the White House, we're taking a closer look at Kamala Harris's political track record and who the vice president could choose as her running mate. As NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson reports, there are multiple contenders among Democratic leaders in key battleground states.
Vice President Harris working the room, trying to capitalize on this critical moment and reintroduce herself as a presidential candidate. The latest twist in a journey that's taken her from the West Coast to the White House. The daughter of Jamaican and Indian immigrants, shaped by her parents' civil rights activism, Harris reflecting on her childhood while running for president in 2019, memorably criticizing her future running mate, Joe Biden, for his record on busing.
You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Harris rose to become California's first black and South Asian attorney general in 2010 before her Senate run 6 years later, where she at times turned congressional hearings into cross-examinations.
I'm asking you a very direct question, yes or no?
Democratic allies arguing Harris's background as a prosecutor helps her press the case against former President Trump and his felony convictions. Now, Harris will likely run on the broader Biden-Harris agenda, with Republicans already seeking to exploit what they see as political liabilities on the economy, inflation, and immigration, after Harris was tapped to lead the White House response to root causes of the border crisis.
We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
But on the issue of abortion access, which Democrats think could mobilize voters come November, Harris has been among the administration's loudest voices advocating for protections.
How dare these elected leaders believe they are in a better position to tell women what they need
Now, the one-time running mate set to select a running mate of her own, racking up endorsements from those speculated to be on the short list, like California's Gavin Newsom and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear.
The contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer.
Other possible contenders, Democrats who could help in key battlegrounds, like Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro, Arizona's Mark Kelly, and North Carolina's Roy Cooper.
I want to make sure that Kamala Harris wins.
Our thanks to Hallie Jackson for bringing us that story. For more on the Harris campaign and its search for vice president, let's bring in NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. Good morning, John. So NBC News has confirmed that former Attorney General Eric Holder is now going to lead the vetting process for Harris's running mate. I mean, this has got to be done. Time is of the essence. Do we have a sense of a time frame at this point for a VP announcement?
We don't know exactly when that announcement's going to come, but obviously the Democrats were already working toward a virtual roll call because of some of the state rules in terms of when people had to be on the ballot. So, look, I'd be very surprised if we didn't have a name within the next couple weeks here.
When it comes to possible running mates, let's talk about names. Take us through the contenders. Who are the front runners? Who do you think could give Vice President Harris the biggest boost where she might need it most?
Yeah, I mean, the way this works is a little less like a bracket and more like a sort of a job interview, I guess. We're looking at some of the contenders on screen right now, some people we think are in the mix at least. Gavin Newsom's team says he doesn't want this California governor. You got Mark Kelly, an Arizona senator who's gotten a lot of traction early. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky. Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, one advantage for him is that he's already been vetted. The White House has all of his information. And, a name that's not on this list, but I've heard come up is Admiral William McRaven, who oversaw the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. It may be that that Vice President Harris, as she moves into that presidential camp, or has already essentially moved into that presidential campaign role, looks for somebody with some military national security experience that goes beyond hers.
John, before you go quickly, what does the vetting process look like? You said Buttigieg has already gone through it, but what would it mean for these other governors and potential candidates?
I mean, this would be a hypercharged version of it. There's no real vet to become a governor or a senator. That means that they're going to do, as quick as they can, background checks. They're going to look for everything they've ever posted to social media. They're going to look through speeches, any controversies they've had in their career, what they've said about Kamala Harris in the past, what they've said about Donald Trump. So it's just basically like cramming for an exam if you're Eric Holder and the vetting team.
It sounds like August 7th is really the date to hit. John Allen, thank you so much.
So what did voters think about this new matchup? NBC News Now anchor Clay Esamaw went to the critical battleground state of Pennsylvania to ask voters about this late-stage campaign shakeup.
Biden stepped down and promptly endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. How do we feel about her?
I mean, we don't know much about her yet, to be honest. The only time she ran for national office was the 2020 primaries, and she didn't even make it to the caucuses. And even in her 4 years as vice president, didn't hear much from her except the occasional immigration thing.
Very supportive of her. I think that she's been a part of President Biden's success. She's been there every step of the way. Lately, she's been out talking about the abortion issue. I think she's been on the trail with him. She has to introduce herself a little bit more to America.
As a black woman, as a former prosecutor, do you think the U.S. is ready for its first black woman, Asian American Democratic nominee, let alone president?
I think we are, and I think we should be. I think it's well past its time. I mean, we have to reimagine what the president looks like.
And I understand you said that if Biden did not drop out, you would support RFK Jr. Is that right?
Yeah, I would not have supported Biden.
So where do you stand now?
Again, I want to see more about Kamala. I'm not quite, I just want to learn more about her.
You've pointed out that Trump, in your own words, is also old. However, that has not been a focus of the campaign, at least so far. Do you think that might change with Vice President Harris?
For all of the people saying, there are two old guys in this race and we don't want either one, well, here's your opportunity for someone who's not an old white guy.
What are the main issues that matter to you in this race?
I think rights, civil rights, women's rights. I think the abortion is important as a black woman, mother, wife, I worry about my children. I worry about the future of the country.
You said you're a mother. Your daughter's right next to you. Do you worry about those things?
Definitely.
If Vice President Harris clinches the Democratic nomination, who would you want to see as a potential running mate?
I would like to see someone who can help get some of the swing states on board. If there are folks who are worried about her gender or her race, maybe it needs to be a white guy just to bring comfort to the rest of the voting bloc.
I would go with someone that I don't think has a presidential future, just because, like, there is, like, someone like Josh Shapiro, in my opinion, has a very high presidential future for the Democratic Party. I just feel this election is going to be very difficult to win because you only have 4 months to run a campaign.
I think the biggest thing for me would just have to be wanting to pick someone who can help pull a swing state.
Let's do a brief show of hands. How many of you think Vice President Harris, as the Democratic nominee, could beat former President and now Republican nominee Donald Trump? I see one no. Why?
I just don't think she has enough time. It's going to be really hard to pull off a campaign in this short a time. And you also have to remember, in the next month, she still has to convince everyone in the party to unite behind her.
In contrast, you three raised your hands almost immediately. Why do you feel Harris could beat Trump?
The alternative is terrifying. If she loses, it's terrifying.
I also think that she has the appeal to bring younger voters out to vote. I think before with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, you just had a lot of young people just not feeling as excited. And now it's like, you know, you can go on social media and see so many people excited about Vice President Kamala Harris running.
Our thanks to Zincle Esamoah for that report.
After this weekend's dramatic decision by President Biden, the Trump campaign is now ramping up its attacks on the new candidate, Kamala Harris. Mr. Trump is calling Harris incompetent, and he criticized her lack of progress on immigration policies. NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haig breaks down how Trump stands against Harris in recent polls.
After 615 days focused on Joe Biden, the Trump campaign shifting gears for a likely showdown with Vice President Harris.
I guess she's going to run for president now.
Mr. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, mocking Harris at a rally in his Ohio hometown.
I was told I was going to get to debate Kamala Harris, and now President Trump's going to get to debate her? I'm kind of pissed off about that.
Trump campaign aides tell NBC News they've worked for weeks preparing to run against Harris. The former president expanding his attacks on Harris in recent days.
She's not a competent person. She shouldn't be president. I mean, she's being laughed at all over the world.
But her potential elevation could change some of the fundamental dynamics of the race, with Trump now the oldest candidate. Running a possible Harris-led ticket could also re-energize younger and more diverse voters. A poll taken within the last 24 hours shows Harris doing better than Biden against Mr. Trump, the race within the margin of error. And previewing a new Trump line of attack against Harris, an allied group releasing this ad accusing Harris of a cover-up.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant.
The GOP also not letting up on President Biden, with top Republicans, including the House Speaker, demanding he step down now.
The president should resign. The reason is, if everyone acknowledges that he is incapable of running a campaign, then he's clearly incapable of running the country. I mean, he has the nuclear codes.
And Vance argues any Democratic voter turned off by what he calls a coup against President Biden should vote for the Republican ticket instead. It's an argument the Trump campaign hopes will ring true here in Virginia, a state that hasn't gone red since 2004.
All right. Thanks, Garrett.
Democrats and Republicans were on the same page yesterday at a tense hearing on Capitol Hill. It was a bipartisan grilling of Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. At issue, the security failures that contributed to the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump just 10 days ago.
Cheadle took full responsibility for the lapses in security, but she failed to provide answers about how the gunman gained access to the roof where he carried out his attack. The hearing became combative at times as Cheadle seemed to dodge what some lawmakers called simple questions. Take a listen.
Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed.
I don't want to add to the director's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, but I will be joining the chairman in calling for the resignation of the director.
Because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked
culpable. You're here pursuant to a subpoena under oath in front of Congress, and you're unable or unwilling to answer some of those same questions.
Tell us what went wrong. If you have an assassination attempt on a president, a former president, or a candidate, you need to resign.
You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Congress not holding back. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale joins us now to talk more about the hearing. Ali, good morning. So both Democrats and Republicans clearly, visibly frustrated by the lack of answers from the Secret Service director. Did we learn anything new about how this shooting occurred? What were some of the key takeaways?
Not really, especially because a lot of the specific questions that lawmakers asked elicited the response from the Secret Service director that it's only been, at that point, 9 days since the shooting in Butler, and they're still actively investigating the situation. It's rare when you see all members of Congress on the same page on something like this. Of course, not rare at all to see these congressional hearings get testy, get fiery, even in some cases get off the tracks. But on this one, everyone really did seem to have the same question, and it mimics a lot of what we've likely heard from our friends, from our colleagues, from Americans writ large. This idea of how could something like this happen? And the Secret Service director, while maintaining that she thinks she's the best person to continue in this job, also said she wasn't ready at that point to provide those answers. It's something, frankly, that she laid out at the very beginning of that hearing, and you knew that it set the tone because every lawmaker was going in that room, and they were likely to be frustrated with the lack of information. Certainly they walked out and they were exactly as frustrated as we thought they would be. I think what this ensures is this is not the last time that they are going to haul the Secret Service director before them and try to demand some answers.
So, Ali, we heard from a string of lawmakers. They're calling for her resignation on both sides of the aisle. This morning, a handful of lawmakers are saying they plan to file articles of impeachment to have Cheadle removed from her position. So walk us through that process. Is there enough support after her testimony yesterday to pass any impeachment article?
Impeachment has actually become a pretty frequently used tool here by House Republicans when they want to go after a member of the Biden-Harris administration. I mean, we saw them do this with the head of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. That, of course, was unsuccessful. There's also this idea of inherent contempt, where you can ask these folks to pay a fine or even potentially be arrested by the House Sergeant at Arms. This is an old rule on the books being applied in modern times. But now both of those things, both contempt and both inherent contempt and impeachment, are on the table for the director of the Secret Service. We could see something on that by the end of the week. One of those resolutions on impeachment has been filed in a privileged fashion, which is the House's way of saying you've got to take it up within 2 legislative days. We are only at Tuesday, if you can believe it. So we could see that resolution get a vote by the end of the week. And that impeachment vote could be done in bipartisan fashion, especially when you consider the fact that the end of that hearing yesterday involved the ranking member of the committee, Jamie Raskin, who you showed, joining with his Republican counterpart, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, to say that the U.S. Secret Service director should step down. This is something that will continue to mount a pressure campaign from Capitol Hill. Of course, the impeachment or inherent contempt resolutions will only add to that. It adds pressure on the administration to push her out of this job, as now the calls are bipartisan and the questions are only getting more.
Let's talk about what's next beyond this possible impeachment here. When can we expect to actually see a report from the Secret Service about this shooting? And you say this may not be the last time she's before Congress. Could we hear from Cheadle again?
Most likely we will, especially because other committees were willing to subpoena her. The Oversight Committee got the first bite at the apple, so to speak, here. But as we see more information coming from the Secret Service, that is something that we're going to see Congress immediately demanding. Most of the members who left that hearing yesterday, guys, said that they wanted to hear from Cheadle again. They have so many questions, including how could that gunman have gotten on the roof? At what point did he become a threat, which would have delayed the rally's start, versus just being a suspicious person, which didn't have any impact on Secret Service, allowing the former president to get on stage and begin his rally. All of those were questions that went unanswered. Certainly there's going to be more in the coming days. And as soon as we see any kind of report from the Secret Service, you can bet that Congress is going to say, hey, we want you to come back and we're willing to subpoena you to do so.
All right. Ali Vitale, thank you so much.
Well, it is time now for a check on your morning news now weather. And here in New York, we might want to keep our umbrellas handy as summer showers are moving east today. We felt a few sprinkles this morning.
Yeah, a little bit. NBC meteorologist Angie last minute is tracking everything for us. Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. You're exactly right. We've got some of that wet weather moving through parts of the Northeast. That is going to continue moving out, but we will still remain unsettled across parts of the South and Southeast over the next couple of days. Here's that batch of moisture, though, that I mentioned. Boston to Maine, basically that's where you're seeing most of that rain and points interior of that. Otherwise, New York, Washington, D.C., Atlantic City, you've all started to see that rain wrapping up, but that doesn't mean you might run into some wet roads as you're out and about early this morning. But by later today, it's mainly the mid-Atlantic focused down to the southern plains that we'll watch closely for some of these showers and thunderstorms. Now, the good news is we're not looking at a lot in the way of severe weather. That chance is relatively low for the day today, so we won't be looking for those kind of impacts, but we could see some really slow-moving storms over the same areas with some impressive rainfall rates, plenty of moisture to tap into. So those rainfall rates leaving us with the chance for some isolated flooding, some localized flooding here as we go through at least today and into tomorrow. You can see it still remains unsettled as this stationary front is kind of parked over the southeast. We've got an area of low pressure and then an extending cold front draped across parts of the Gulf Coast. Now, this is going to leave us, as I mentioned, unsettled, but also with a couple of chances for us to see that flooding, specifically most concerned about parts of Texas and Louisiana, where we could see anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of hourly rainfall rates. That means that by the time this is all said and done, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain is possible, but upwards of 5 inches. That's one of the spots we'll watch. Also, Atlanta included in the chance for seeing some of that flash flooding here through the next couple of days. This is going to be something we track through Wednesday. Again, some of the higher amounts, 5, 6, 7 inches. We know that Texas has already received ample amounts of rain over the past couple of weeks, guys. So not needing this rain, but definitely something to watch for if you live in that area. The flooding will be on the table through midweek.
7 inches is a lot of rain.
It is.
All right,
sure
Angie,
is.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Angie.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, disaster for Delta. The airline's still struggling 4 days after a computer outage that caused a nationwide meltdown. We're going to bring you the latest.
Up first, after the break, the Summer Olympics now just 3 days away. We'll take you to Paris as officials make the final touches before lighting the torch. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's take a look at what's making international headlines, starting with the latest on the Israel-Hamas war.
NBC News international correspondent Josh Letterman joins us with that and other world news. Josh, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Israel has ordered an evacuation of eastern Han Yunis, including an area that had previously been designated a safe zone where hundreds of thousands of Palestinian civilians had been sheltered. Now, Israel says that it is targeting Hamas militants in that area, but this is only worsening the humanitarian crisis as more people have to flee. It comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is heading to Washington for an expected meeting with President Biden later this week. Now, let's head over to Haiti, where the U.S. is giving another $60 million in humanitarian aid to help support the fragile transitional government. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, announced the funds during a rare trip to the violence-stricken nation, where gangs have taken over large parts of the country. A new UN-backed security mission involving hundreds of Kenyan police officers is struggling to restore security in Haiti. And we will finish off this morning in Venice, which has just brought in big bucks with its new tourism tax designed to try to limit the number of people who come to visit. Starting in April, Venice began requiring tourist reservations and a small fee on certain days of the week. And so far, it has raised more than $2.5 million. And they have found that the busiest day for tourists was Saturdays. Now, the fee has ended for the meantime, but Venice is now going to decide whether to bring it back during the heavy tourist season. Back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you so much.
We are now less than 3 days from the opening ceremony of the Summer Olympic Games in Paris. You can hear the music. It has been a century since the City of Light last hosted the Games, and officials there say they are more than ready amid security and safety concerns. So buckle up. NBC News correspondent Jay Gray takes us on the road to Paris.
Paris 24, Los Angeles 28.
The road to these Summer Games actually began 100 years ago. 1924, the first time the world gathered in Paris for the competition. In a nod to that history, many of the high-profile events here will take place in and around some of the region's most iconic landmarks, including the Eiffel Tower and the Palace at Versailles.
To be able to
to present this venue to all the people for 15 days is an ideal dream.
Of course, there have been nightmares as well. Questions about security that seem to face every host city in these times. Up to 45,000 police and 10,000 soldiers have been deployed. Organizers saying they're confident the games will be safe. Political turmoil from surprising national elections just ahead of the opening ceremony. And concern about pollution levels in the River Sind, which will host 3 triathlon events and marathon swimming. Paris's mayor taking a dip last week in an effort to assure everyone the water is safe. So now, all of the planning and preparation gives way to the spectacle of this international celebration.
It's fantastic to see the Olympic flame here in Paris, to celebrate Paris, to celebrate the athletes, to celebrate the games and the Olympic spirit.
More than 10,000 athletes from more than 200 countries gathering in the City of Light, all hoping to bring home the gold.
Our thanks to Jay Gray for bringing us that report. Here's the thing. Some Olympic competitions actually start before Friday's opening ceremony. One of those, the U.S. men's soccer match against France. That is set to be played at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. It'll be streamed on Peacock and NBCOlympics.com.
Oh, I can't wait. All right, well, coming up, Veep gone viral. Vice President Kamala Harris trending on TikTok less than 2 days into her 2024 campaign. But how big a role will social media play in November's election?
Plus, on vacation and on the clock, when more people are going on so-called hushcations this summer and how it could end up causing more stress. Weekly Check-In is next on Morning News Now.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
That is one of several meme videos flooding the internet this week after Vice President Kamala Harris officially announced she is running for president. Her campaign is now embracing the trend #BratSummer. It's accumulated tens of thousands of posts on TikTok alone. NBC News national correspondent Yasmin Vasugian explains what the trend is and the role that social media could play in this year's election.
Move over, Dark Brandon. It's Brat Summer, and Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign, fresh off her endorsement from President Biden, is leaning in. What is Brat, you ask? It's a vibe, embracing a rebellious be-yourself attitude. I'll let British pop star Charlie XCX explain it.
It's very honest, it's very blunt, a little bit volatile.
TikTokers took it from there after Biden's disastrous debate, mashing together some of the vice president's greatest hits set to the track. 666 with a Princess Street. And after Biden dropped out of the race on Sunday, Charlie XCX tweeting, "Kamala is Brat." The meme now taking off like wildfire, with @KamalaHQ transforming its cover page to mimic the Brat's cover album.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Coconut tree? Lawmakers posting their endorsements of the VP with a coconut and a palm tree, all stemming from this moment.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, "I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?" You exist in the context of all in which you lived and what came before you.
Those comments from a White House event last year focused on advancing opportunities in the Hispanic community, going viral and taking off again now. It's a boost of excitement on social media and with younger voters that Democrats desperately needed. But the right also pushing memes of Harris. This comment from former President Trump on Saturday.
I call her Laughing Kamala. You ever watch her laugh? She's crazy.
Prompting a mashup, questioning her ability to lead. Not unlike the attacks Trump made against his last female Democratic opponent in 2016, Hillary Clinton. But in a news cycle where Donald Trump has dominated the narrative, only time will tell if the vice president's TikTok mania will help win the White House and a repeat of a moment like this from 2020.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
All right, our thanks to Yasmin Vasugian for that report.
Let's get to your weekly mental health check-in, starting off with a recent survey that shows how the upcoming presidential election is impacting Americans' mental health.
Yeah, plus the new video game that combines therapy with vampires.
All right, here to help us break it all down and more is Dr. Sue Varma. She's a psychiatrist and the author of Practical Optimism, the Art, Science, and Practice of Exceptional Well-Being. Dr. Varma, always good to have you with us. Let's start with this anxiety around the election, which, if you are watching us, is impossible to avoid. The American Psychiatric Association's annual mental health poll found nearly 3/4 of its respondents are feeling anxious about the election. And we should note this came out before the assassination attempt on former President Trump and therefore before President Biden's decision to drop out. How can people care for their mental health but still actually stay informed and tuned in?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Joe. And one of the questions I always get from patients that I'm working with is, Dr. Varma, I feel like I really only have two choices, and which do I pick? Do I want to stay informed or do I want to be happy? And sometimes we can be a little bit of both, but it takes being very intentional. And that includes, as you said, limiting sometimes the exposure that you have. We know that digital exposure or just ongoing news exposure can cause heightened anxiety. So choose the times and be very deliberate about what you're looking for and your news sources. Are they credible? Sometimes it's helpful to read a variety of news sources. Then I would also say is, who are you talking to, right? Like, if this is a very stressful period of time, do you have connection? Do you have people that you feel safe with? This is causing a lot of political divide amongst families. A lot of times we have way too much energy because we're ruminating, we're not sleeping. So say, can I get out of my bed and can I keep a worry diary where I'm specifically writing the thoughts that I'm worried about? And then how am I using my energy? Is it to give back to the community? Sometimes it's not going to be election-related things that we can do. If we can, great. But if not, in your own community, is there an elderly family member that needs your attention, that wants connection? Some form of giving back. And then I would say focusing on sleep and exercise and maintaining a routine as much as possible during this time.
Such good advice about serving others. I think that gets people out of their own heads. Let's turn to time off work, Dr. Varma. Taking a vacation should make you feel less stressed, but apparently that's not always the case. According to one survey, nearly half of us feel guilty if we're not working while on vacation. There's even something called a hushcation, where you're working remotely from somewhere else without telling your boss that you're not at home. That seems really stressful. What needs to change here so that people actually get a break when they're on vacation?
Yeah, so Vicki, the hushcations are a fascinating term because it refers to the fact that people don't feel open enough or comfortable enough to be able to communicate with their bosses that they need time off. Perhaps they might be feeling extra pressure because it's the end of the month, or it's some stressful period of time at work where it would be seen as bad or taboo for asking for the time off. So I would say, as much as possible, look at how much PTO you have and just say, listen, I want to be here to support you, like, speaking to the person you're working with and to your team. But at the same time, I really would like to have this time off. How can we work together? Is there some way that, like, Summer Friday is a thing, right? I think there was a line that I read that said remote workers ruin Summer Fridays. And that's not necessarily the case, but we do need to have more transparency, more communication, and more flexibility, because a lot of times, as long as the job is done, it might not matter where you are. So asking for the time off, making sure you make it a priority. And then if you can, staycations, like if you're not able to leave, how can you be a tourist in your own town, taking advantage of things? The heat also plays a huge role in that. Our productivity is lower, our concentration is down, and there's a lot of things that are affecting, and then job-related stresses that are making it harder for us to take vacations. But I'm all about creating what I call oasis moments at home, where you have 5 minutes, even during the workday, or Zen dance in your own little house, having a little cushion or a pillow on the floor where you go and you lay down, or even at your job, taking your yoga mat with you. It's something that I've done for many years.
Zen den, I like that.
There you go. All right, let's talk about this new video game, Vampire Therapist. I want to help your brain. Now, the idea, I don't know anything about this. It might seem out there. You say it actually addresses some real-life therapy tools you talk about in your book. We're really tight on time here, but tell us about this.
Yeah, so cognitive behavioral therapy has these things called cognitive distortions, in which we have distorted ways of thinking, blaming ourselves, shaming ourselves, all or nothing thinking. I either did things perfectly or a screw up, and ways that we want to take back agency over our thought process and be able to push that back to say, you know what would I tell a friend? How am I going to feel about this 5 years from now? What's the cost-benefit analysis to my negative thinking? So reframing is one way to combat negative thoughts.
And the vampires help us do that?
Yes.
All right.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very
good
creative way.
vampires. All right, Dr. Sue Varma,
Yes.
thank you so much. Appreciate it. Coming up on Morning News Now, Delta disaster.
Yeah, a massive computer outage causing days of delays for the airline's passengers.
Oh my gosh, you guys, if you're flying today on Delta, good luck. This is not looking good again. We've got hundreds of flights canceled. We've had thousands canceled since Friday. When we come back, we're going to talk about which airports are most affected, what you can expect today. NBC News Now continues in just a minute.
4 days after Friday's botched software update that took down 911 centers, hospitals, and airlines, thousands of Delta Airlines passengers are hoping today is the day they can finally board their flights.
The airline has been crippled by the computer outage, canceling thousands of flights. Some passengers have been stranded in airports for days during this busy summer vacation season. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello joins us with the latest from Reagan National Airport in Washington. Tom, it sounds like it's a miracle that I got home on Sunday night.
Yeah, seriously, you're very lucky. Coming out of Minneapolis, you're very lucky because I'll tell you guys, listen to this stat. Yesterday, 29% of Delta flights canceled. Today, they were hoping for a recovery. Not so much. 11% already canceled. 400 flights today alone. Most affected airports, Minneapolis, Atlanta, as well as Detroit, JFK, Salt Lake City, LAX, Reagan Airport here. And that means that people are still feeling the effects of that computer outage that has crippled Delta's computer system. People are still stuck. Mid-July, the peak of the summer vacation season, and hundreds of thousands of Delta passengers have been going nowhere fast, spending hours in ticket lines and sleeping on airport floors.
All these people stranded.
Time-lapse video of a 4-hour wait for a customer service rep in Atlanta, Delta's home base.
We've got crisis mitigation plans in place.
The Delta app, equally frustrating for some.
It automatically tried to rebook me till the next subsequent flight. Then that was canceled, and that was canceled.
Delta's airport hubs have been the most affected: Atlanta, Minneapolis, Detroit, Salt Lake, LAX, JFK, and LaGuardia.
Been staying at hotels. I can't. This money is running out because I spent most money on my vacation.
More than 5,000 canceled flights since Friday morning when the CrowdStrike cybersecurity update took down its computers, including a critical crew scheduling system. Delta's CEO apologized to customers over the weekend. In comments to employees Monday, Ed Bastian says it's been a horrible weekend for us all. It's going to take another couple of days before we're in a position to say that the worst is clearly behind us. In Miami, European vacationers have been stuck.
We tried to fly home to Switzerland Saturday, and then we got rebooked on Monday, and now they told us we have to stay here for 2 more nights.
Nobody can tell me where my luggage are. I really need to get them. I cannot wait tomorrow, and they cannot fly it back to Canada because I need my meds now.
At many airports, unclaimed luggage has been piling up.
They know where my bag is right now. It's loading on a plane, and they won't go get it. And so it's kind of disappointing.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is a total mess, and it's very similar, you may recall, to the Southwest Airlines meltdown during the Christmas and New Year's of 2022 issue, where 2 million passengers were affected. They also had a snowstorm. Obviously, this is not a snowstorm, and it's not even a summer storm. It's all because of this computer meltdown. Delta's offering flight attendants more pay to work overtime, but the problem is that crew scheduling computer is still a problem for them. They can't necessarily see where their personnel are or even get the equipment into the right place, and planes are flying full. You know what that means, Joe? If your plane is flying full and then they cancel, every flight behind you is full. There is simply no slack in the system. They are hoping that they're back up and running in a few days, but it's not looking good right now.
No slack and no backup system for that scheduling program. Tom just shows us how dependent we are on those computers. We can feel those people's frustration. All right, Tom, thank you so much.
Let's get some more financial headlines. Changes could soon be coming to where you catch your favorite NBA games.
Yeah, CNBC's Silvana now joins us with more on that and other money news. Hey, good morning, Silvana.
Hey, Vicki, good morning. Good morning, Joya. So Warner Brothers Discovery has told the NBA it will exercise the right to match one of the offers in the league's new $76 billion media rights deal with Disney, NBC Universal, and Amazon. Now, sources say the company, which currently airs games on TNT, wants to match Amazon's offer, which is $1.9 billion per season. Now, the other deals have much steeper price tags. Disney's proposal is about $2.6 billion per season, while NBC Universal will pay $2.5 billion to air games on NBC and Peacock. The NBA says it's reviewing Warner's proposal. And Taylor Swift's reign on the Billboard charts is over. Eminem's latest album, The Death of Slim Shady, debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200, unseating the Tortured Poets department after 12 straight weeks. Swift's album debuted in the top spot in April. The only album to stay #1 for longer is Stevie Wonder's 1976 masterpiece, Songs in the Key of Life, which spent 13 weeks in that position, guys.
All right, Savannah, thank you.
You got it.
Well, let's stay on your money and talk fast food now. Those penny-pinching meals that once cost just a few dollars, they have now seen some major price hikes, making eating out a treat for many families. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans has more on what some popular restaurant chains are now doing to get hungry customers back in their stores.
Meal deal wars have been waging a battle for your bite all summer long.
Can we talk about how ridiculous fast food prices are anymore?
And this morning, a new round is heating up. McDonald's is now extending its popular $5 meal.
This is actually the best McDonald's meal right now.
What started as a temporary promotion will now be served up at most locations all the way through August, Today has learned. The meal, which can include a cheeseburger plus fries, McNuggets, and a drink. McDonald's president speaking to Savannah and Hoda last month.
Did consumers essentially force your hand by being fed up?
Customers are telling us that they're really stretched. And so this is a great opportunity for McDonald's to bring them value.
Fast foodies revolting when what was once cheap and cheerful began to overwhelm their wallets.
Fast food is now so overpriced that it is often cheaper to go to a sit-down restaurant than it is to drive through fast food.
In fact, menu prices at 12 fast food chains have increased by an average of 60% since 2014. McDonald's prices doubling in a 10-year period, Popeyes up 86%, Taco Bell up 81%, and prices at Subway and Starbucks climbing 39%. This has left nearly 80% of consumers considering these drive-through meals a luxury.
There's a lot of pressure on restaurants to get consumers back. And, they're going to look for any way they can to do this.
That means loyalty apps, new products, and plenty of deals. Domino's boosting business by revamping its loyalty program, with pizza redemption made easier, faster, and at a lower spending point. Subway giving $2 off for every 400 loyalty points, and 5, seemingly the magic number for fast food meals.
This deal is loaded, even when your wallet isn't.
2 full meals, $5.99 each.
Kind of feels like everyone's trying to copy the $5 biggie bag.
Fry fiends, pizza patrons, and burger buyers are noticing.
And let me tell y'all why this is a good deal.
With this much food that's only $5, it's definitely worth it.
Drive-through chains, not the only ones to serve up savings. Casual dining, touting bang for the buck. Red Robin is winning with more than 30 bottomless items. Chipotle offering BOGO, buy one, get one free meals. And Applebee's touting fixed price meals for under $12. Fast and casual dining this summer working hard with hot new deals to keep your wallet cool.
Our thanks to Christine Romans for that report. Coming up, he is a legendary musician whose songs transcend the barriers of language and time. When we come back, hear from the one and only Carlos Santana as we celebrate 25 years of one of his most popular albums. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. This morning, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Carlos Santana's best-selling album, Supernatural. The 10-time Grammy Award winner has been serenading fans for more than 50 years now. He sat down with NBC Nightly News Saturday anchor Jose Diaz-Balart to reflect on his legendary career.
Carlos Santana blasted into our consciousness 55 years ago. You got to change your evil ways. Baby. With with an electrifying performance at Woodstock that turned him into a global superstar overnight. Today, more than a half-century later, and with more than 100 million albums sold, Santana is still making music and electrifying audiences. Playing to generations of fans with an ongoing residency at House of Blues in Las Vegas and on a new nationwide tour.
When I look at this extraordinary body of work, deep and so varied, how is it that Carlos Santana starts?
It's always, for me, it's about energy and frequency. That is our language.
A unique language that helped create what is now a global sound. Carlos, influenced by Ray Barretto, Tito Puente, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, the Beatles, B.B. King, and others.
I tried for a long time to sound like people that I love. And the harder I tried, the more I sounded like me. So I said, honor it and have fun with it.
And have fun he has. Santana creating hit after hit. This year, celebrating a musical milestone, the 25th anniversary of his best-selling album, Supernatural. Winning 9 Grammys in one night.
Played by Carlos Santana.
The album hit such an explosion, was right up there with Michael Jackson, Thriller, and the Eagles' greatest hits. It's quite a phenomenon.
Got a black magic woman.
And for Carlos Santana, the universality of music has an infinite life.
So what's the part of Carlos Santana that is infinite?
My energy, my connection with God. I'm always holding his hand. No matter what I do, I'm always holding God's hand.
Love that interview. Our thanks to Jose for sharing that conversation with us. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but stick with us. The news continues right now. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah's on assignment. Vicki Wood will join us a bit later in the hour. Right now on Morning News Now, the race for the White House is heating up. Vice President Kamala Harris receiving a major campaign boost overnight. NBC News Now reporting that Ms. Harris has secured the support of enough delegates to become the clear frontrunner for the Democratic nomination. On top of that, the campaign says it's raised a record-breaking amount of cash already this week. We've got team coverage and reaction from voters in key battleground states as rumors fly in Washington over the current VP's pick for her own running mate. Also this morning, the director of the Secret Service grilled on Capitol Hill over security failures surrounding that attempt on former President Trump's life.
Not only should you resign, if you refuse to do so, President Biden needs to fire you.
If you have an assassination attempt on a president, a former president, or a candidate, you need to resign.
Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
More on why she's bucking those bipartisan calls to step down. Plus, a high-stakes visit to Washington for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His message to the families of American Israelis who are still being held hostage, and the liberal lawmakers expected to boycott the visit as Mr. Netanyahu prepares to address Congress tomorrow. And Paris is positively buzzing. Team USA and the world's greatest athletes now descending on the City of Light ahead of Friday's highly anticipated opening ceremony. We begin this hour with the race for the White House. Vice President Harris heads to Milwaukee today for her first campaign event since becoming a candidate for the Democratic nomination. Yesterday, on the first full day after President Biden announced he would step aside from the race, Harris managed to secure a majority of pledged delegates for the Democratic convention. This makes her the clear favorite for the nomination. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has the latest from the campaign as the VP now considers her own running mate.
Hey, Vicki and Joe, good morning to both of you. For Democrats, it really feels like this race changed almost overnight. Vice President Harris now riding a surge of energy and enthusiasm. The Harris campaign just this morning announcing that she has raised more than $100 million since Sunday afternoon. Nearly 2/3 of those donations coming from people who have never given before, and nearly 60,000 people signing up to volunteer. And today, the vice president is off to campaign in one of the most critical battleground states of all, Wisconsin.
Overnight, a major boost for Kamala Harris on her first full day in the race. The vice president securing the support of the more than 1,976 delegates she would need to win the Democratic nomination, according to an NBC News tally. That makes her the party's clear frontrunner ahead of next month's convention in Chicago. On Monday, visiting what's now her campaign headquarters in Delaware, Harris offering a preview of her case against former President Trump.
Donald Trump wants to take our country backward.
Casting herself as a former prosecutor going after her political rival, a convicted criminal.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Harris, in her campaign debut, taking the torch from President Biden, still sounding hoarse from COVID as he called into the event, vowing they're still in the fight together.
The name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all.
The two sharing a virtual embrace.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe.
As many top Democrats coalesce around the vice president's candidacy. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi endorsing Harris. The Senate's top Democrat Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, though, holding off for now, expected to meet with Harris soon. And with no major candidates emerging to challenge Harris, the spotlight's quickly shifting to her possible running mate. Among the names getting the most attention, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, and Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, a must-win state for Democrats, who says he spoke with Harris Sunday.
This is a deeply personal decision that the vice president will make.
Also under consideration, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear saying he's flattered to be part of the process and attacking the vice presidential pick on the Republican side.
The problem with J.D. Vance is he has no conviction. But I guess his running mate has 34.
Later today, President Biden will return here to the White House from his Delaware beach house, where he's been recovering from COVID. No public events on his schedule for today, but he is expected to deliver a nationwide address within days to share more about his decision to leave the race. Back to you.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. For more on the state of the race, we're joined by NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray. Mark, good to have you with us. So today's only the second full day since President Biden's historic announcement. Things are moving pretty fast. They have to move fast. So give us the lay of the land. How are Democrats and Republicans feeling this morning?
Yeah, look, Joe, Democrats are absolutely energized. And a lot of that has to do from the perspective of the last 3.5 weeks since that debate performance by Joe Biden, where there was a doom and gloom and bad poll numbers that were surrounding the entire party. That is now gone. We've actually seen humongous donations pouring in for the campaign and for the Harris campaign and unity. And so that's the situation for Democrats. For Republicans, it's a little bit unsettling. And while Republicans say that they might have prepared for this moment, they are now facing a different candidate, one that's much different than the person that they had been campaigning on for years now. And so that's going to take some adjustment for the Republican Party. But overall, Joe, a completely reset race with about 3.5 months to go before the November election.
So we now know a majority of pledged Democratic convention delegates have endorsed Vice President Harris. So far, no major Democrats have stepped forward to challenge her. Is this a done deal? Do we know if there's anyone lurking in the shadows who's going to try and emerge and challenge her?
Joe, this seems to be a done deal. And again, I think with the caveat that anything could happen, like what we've seen over the past month with all the twists and turns in this presidential contest. DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison had been telling our colleagues, including Craig Melvin this morning, that they are planning for that virtual roll call vote in early August to cement this in. And given the speed, given just how quickly Harris has unified behind the party around her, I fully expect her to be the nominee. She's clearly the overwhelming frontrunner right now.
All right, so we have sort of a flipping of the script here. Donald Trump is now the oldest nominee in American history. Do we know how his campaign is going to deal with this age question after he spent months attacking President Joe Biden for his age?
Yeah, Joe, Democrats are actually giddy now, being able to turn the age question back on the Republicans after having to be on the defensive with President Biden. But, you know, you're going to end up seeing now Republicans kind of make some of the other arguments on who's better on the economy, who's better as commander in chief, who is competent and effective. And while Democrats were able to remove the age question away from the matrix here, that, you know, you're going to end up seeing that effectiveness issue, I think, being litigated over the next 3 months.
It is a 19-year age difference between Trump and Harris. All right, before we let you go, I want to ask you about the Democratic Veep stakes. So who jumps out to you when it comes to potential running mates, and who do you think pairs the best with Vice President Harris?
Yeah, as far as the best, that's the decision that she and her advisors are going to have to make. But, Joe, I kind of look at the battleground states. Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, Roy Cooper of North Carolina. Does she decide to pick one of those folks to kind of make it more possible to win over one of these tough battleground states that she's going to have to win? So I'm looking more at state rather than experience.
All right, Mark Murray, good to have you with us this morning. Thank you. Georgia is a key battleground state, and some observers think that having VP Harris at the top of the ticket improves Democrats' chances of winning that state. Democratic leaders have quickly endorsed Harris there, but can she convince voters who are on the fence? NBC News correspondent Priya Sridhar joins us now from Atlanta with more. So, Priya, in 2020, Atlanta voters played a big role in helping President Biden flip Georgia, making it blue. What are voters saying to you about the VP, Kamala Harris?
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Well, in the last election cycle, for the first time in nearly 30 years, voters here in Georgia voted for a Democratic candidate with Joe Biden. He inched out over former President Trump with nearly 12,000 more votes. This time around, national polling seemed to indicate that Biden was trailing the former president by 2 percentage points. Now, a new Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll that came out today has actually said that Kamala Harris would be trailing former President Trump by 5 points here in Georgia, but it's notable that this poll was conducted prior to Biden actually ending his candidacy. Now, one demographic that Kamala Harris was doing much better than President Trump in facing off against the former president is with black voters. And so that's really an area in Georgia specifically. There's a huge population of black voters that Democrats think that Kamala Harris could really mobilize and use to flip this state once again. So many of the voters that we talked to, Democrats, said they're very excited. They felt relieved when they heard the announcement that President Biden was ending his candidacy, and they're excited about Kamala Harris. They're excited about the potential that the United States could make history for the first time electing a woman of color. But they also, on the same token, expressed some concern about that fact, because while they said that as Democratic voters here in Georgia, they would certainly cast their vote for a woman of color, they were worried that perhaps across the United States that wouldn't be the case. And in addition to people feeling very excited about Kamala Harris, we also heard from a lot of Democratic voters and even some Republican voters saying that they didn't like the way this all played out. They feel like the process in which Kamala Harris became potentially the new nominee wasn't necessarily very democratic, which is what the Democratic Party has been preaching about, especially when it comes to the former president as being against democracy, Joe.
All right, so Priya, I know you have some reporting from a group of women running for office in North Georgia. I think Harris is going to give their campaign a boost in what's a mostly Republican district. So what are they saying? I mean, just how tough is it going to be for Democrats to win in that part of the state?
Absolutely. Well, this is Georgia's 9th district, and it's one of the reddest districts in the entire state. And they are extremely excited. This women, the Fab Four, they call themselves. They're all Democratic candidates running for the Georgia state legislature. And they say that it's an uphill battle for any Democratic candidates to win local races or statewide races in that part of Georgia. And so they're extremely excited that Kamala Harris could have a great beneficial down ballot effect for them, and that if she can mobilize women voters and she can mobilize people of color, that perhaps that'll impact their candidacy in their races as well, Joe.
All right, Priya Sridhar in Atlanta. Priya, thank you so much. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is facing new pressure to resign this morning after lawmakers hammered her with questions about the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. Cheadle gave few details about the attack, including how the gunman was able to gain access to the roof. Members of the House Oversight Committee, both Republicans and Democrats, grew frustrated during yesterday's hearing, calling her answers, quote, lame excuses. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with more on the hearing. Ryan, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, you're right. In fact, the members of Congress were so upset with the response or lack of response that they got from Director Cheadle that the two leaders of the committee sent her a bipartisan letter demanding she resign, a call that at this point she's still resisting. For more than 4 hours, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle faced an avalanche of attacks from both Republicans and Democrats in Congress.
Well, look, I believe, Director Cheadle, that you should resign.
Not only should you resign, if you refuse to do so, President Biden needs to fire you.
Cheadle, forced to appear by subpoena, attempted to take the blame for the security lapses that led to the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump.
We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again.
But instead, she left many members of Congress frustrated.
You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Pressing for answers.
Was there ever a moment where the Secret Service actually considered pausing the rally?
The Secret Service would have paused the rally had they known or been
So the answer is
there
no.
was an actual threat.
The answer is no. Correct?
I can speak to you in generalities.
No, I don't want generalities.
I
want specifics.
Unable to answer basic questions, like when the gunman got on the roof and what he had with him.
Was the gun already on the roof, or did the shooter carry the gun up with him?
I do not have that information at this time.
NBC News has reported that the Secret Service turned down a request by the Trump team for more security assets. Cheadle responded to the report only by saying there were no additional asks for the July 13th rally. But her inability to provide any explanation for what went wrong led to a rare bipartisan call at the end of the hearing from Ranking Member Jamie Raskin and Chairman James Comer for her to resign.
This relationship is irretrievable at this point.
A call Cheadle refused to entertain even as she left the hearing room. It's bipartisan calls now for you to step down, ma'am. Will you take those calls to heart? And in just the last few minutes, the Speaker of the House announcing a plan to vote on the authorization of a bipartisan task force. It'll have 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats. It's an agreement made with the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. This will be specifically aimed at the investigation into the assassination attempt against former President Trump. And the goal would be to propose reforms to prevent it from happening again. Joe.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. Now to a disturbing case out of Illinois involving a woman who called 911 for help only to be shot and killed by a responding deputy who now faces criminal charges. This morning, the family of Sonia Massey is demanding justice. His new body camera video shows how the ordeal unfolded. NBC's Maggie Vespa is in Chicago with the latest. Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. That 36-minute clip released by Illinois State Police and prosecutors pursuing charges against the deputy gives a chilling step-by-step look at the night Sonia Massey died, even appearing to record her last words before she was shot, "I'm sorry." And a quick warning, some of what you're about to see may be disturbing.
I heard somebody outside.
Yeah, we checked your house, we checked your backyard. I walked all the way through all these backyards.
This morning, an Illinois woman's last moments seen in chilling detail on newly released body camera video. Prosecutors say on the morning of July 6th, 36-year-old Sonia Massey called 911 about a possible intruder. When 2 deputies arrived at her Springfield home, she at times appeared confused.
I'm trying to get help, y'all, but...
What do you need help with?
Nothing. I just, please God, please God.
Minutes later, Massey picks up what appears to be a pot of boiling water from her stove. The deputy on screen identified by prosecutors as Sean Grayson.
I shoot you in the You better I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot! Drop the 14 shots fired. Shots fired! Shots fired!
The coroner confirming the mother of 2 was fatally shot in the head. Her body blurred by police in the video.
I'm not taking hot boiling water to face.
Protests demanding charges against Deputy Grayson have mounted since. President Biden this week writing in a statement, Sonia's family deserves justice.
He walked around the counter to get a better shot. If you're in fear for your life, you don't walk towards the person.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump speaking alongside Massey's family, who say she'd suffered from mental health issues.
But you know what I want? I want justice for my baby. Yeah.
Grayson was fired from his job with the sheriff's department, and a grand jury has now indicted him on 3 counts of first-degree murder. His attorney declining to comment when reached by NBC News. Now the world seeing for themselves how one woman's call for help took such a tragic turn.
What is your last name?
And overnight, the sheriff of Sangamon County actually released a statement following that video saying in part, quote, Deputy Grayson, now former Deputy Grayson, had other options available he should have used. It goes on to say he will now face judgment by the criminal justice system and will never again work in law enforcement. Joe.
All right, Maggie, thank you so much. Time now for weather, and unseasonably hot temps are expected again today in parts of the Northwest and the Northern Rockies. Meteorologist Angie Lastman's here with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. The West continues to be warm, and we've got the heat alerts to prove it this morning. 29 million people under these alerts, from heat warnings to heat advisories. These are going to stay with us. You can see some of the major cities that are included: Las Vegas, Palm Springs, Sacramento, and Salt Lake City, all dealing with this warmer than normal kind of pattern that we've been stuck in for so long, and today is no different. We've got triple digits across the board across this region. Salt Lake City, you're expected to hit 101, running about 8 degrees above normal for this time of year. We've got 110 in Las Vegas. Fresno expected to hit 110. Palm Springs ends up at 112. And if you're going to be out and about later this afternoon in Phoenix, expect those temperatures to be quite toasty. 111 will be your high this afternoon. So that is going to be another concerning day as far as temperatures are concerned. Across the Southeast, it's a different kind of pattern that we're seeing when it comes to temperatures. The heat index is what we're really most concerned about. We've got high humidity levels that we're expecting to impact folks here. So yes, we're going to be into the 90s in Savannah, but it'll feel like over 100 this afternoon. That is, we get into tomorrow. Myrtle Beach, upper 80s, but feeling like 103, 86 degrees in Montgomery, but still into the 90s. And that's the story from Panama City to Jacksonville down through Daytona Beach. Temperatures feeling much warmer than those actual temperatures. So prepare for that. Find your cool spot. Make sure you're checking on neighbors and friends, of course, because it's going to be a little toasty over the next couple of days. As we round out the work week and head into the weekend, parts of the Northeast are going to start to see these temperatures warming up just a touch. Notice we'll be running a little above normal across this region as we get into Thursday, Friday, and ultimately Saturday. If you're making plans in New York City on Saturday, a high of 88 degrees. Not bad considering where we've been already this summer and what's going on elsewhere. We've got Cincinnati into the mid-80s Thursday and Friday, headed to the upper 80s by Saturday, and Charlotte will kind of tap out into those low 80s. Meanwhile, we've got some unsettled conditions across parts of the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic. We've got plenty of rain for folks across the Southern Plains, into the Mid-Atlantic, and even the Northeast. That's where we've been watching for that wet weather to impact roads this morning. Most of that will be on its way out, but we will still deal with a couple of showers. So umbrella handy, going to be a good idea in that region, and again, across much of the Southeast, stretching into the Southern Plains and up into the Mid-Atlantic. We've got widespread showers and storms as this stationary front kind of just hangs out across that region over the next day or so. The one thing to note, not so much concerned about severe weather, Joe, but we are concerned about some of these slow-moving storms bringing us some flooding, especially across portions of Texas and Louisiana that have just received ample amounts of rain over the past couple of weeks. Atlanta also has the potential for flooding today.
All right, Angie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the latest on the ongoing legal saga of accused murderer Karen Reed, when we're now expected to see her back in court after that mistrial was declared over the death of her police officer boyfriend. But first, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is back on American soil. We're going to bring you everything you need to know ahead of his joint address to Congress tomorrow. Stay with us. Those stories and much more up next. We're back with what's making headlines around the world this morning. In Croatia, at least 6 people are dead after a gunman opened fire in a nursing home. NBC News International correspondent Josh Letterman joins us with that and other world headlines. Josh, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. That gunman opened up in a small village in Croatia in a nursing home. As you mentioned, the police have not yet figured out a motive, and that suspect actually fled the scene, but they were able to locate him at a cafe and to arrest him. Now, mass shootings are extremely rare in Croatia, and already we're seeing this incident prompt calls for stricter gun control in Croatia. Now, heading back here to the UK, where the Conservative Party is licking its wounds after an overwhelming defeat in those recent parliamentary elections. They are starting a 3-month contest to pick their next leader, who will replace former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak as head of the party. Now, Sunak has already formally stepped down from the role, but he is sticking around as the acting leader of the Conservative Party until November. And let's end in Italy, where the iconic Path of Love is reopening after 12 years. The romantic hiking trail in Cinque Terre is known for its stunning cliffs and sea views, but it has been closed now since 2012, when there was a landslide that injured 4 Australians and raised major safety concerns. Authorities spent millions building new harnesses, anchors, and even nets to try to prevent rock falls and ensure it is safe to hike and maybe even to take a little smooch along the way. Back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington ahead of a planned address to Congress tomorrow. Netanyahu's visit comes amid tense relations with the Biden administration over Israel's handling of the war in Gaza. Well, recent legal rulings have damaged Israel's standing on the global stage. Just days ago, the UN's top court ruled that Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories was unlawful and ordered its immediate end. The International Criminal Court is seeking an arrest warrant for Netanyahu over alleged war crimes, charges that he denies. Last night, Netanyahu met with the families of American hostages held by Hamas. The families are criticizing him for failing to secure a hostage deal, but he told them an agreement was near. We're joined now by NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez, who's in Tel Aviv. So, Raf, as we mentioned, Netanyahu met with hostage families last night. Were they convinced about what he had to say about a potential deal?
So, Joe, the hostage families, they're not a monolith. They're a broad church. But I can tell you there is widespread and very, very deep frustration that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu does not appear to share the sense of urgency that these hostage families feel. Remember, their loved ones have been in Hamas captivity for nearly 300 days at this point. They want a deal, and they want a deal now. What Netanyahu is saying is that every passing day, the Israeli military is increasing the pressure on Hamas inside of Gaza. It is forcing concessions from Hamas. It is lowering the price that Israel will have to pay for this deal. And he says conditions are ripening for an agreement. But the hostage families point out every passing day, more and more of these hostages are turning out to be dead. They say there is no time to lose. They're also deeply concerned that Netanyahu may only want so-called phase 1 of this 3-phase agreement. So that would be a temporary ceasefire, the release of some hostages, but then the fighting resuming rather than the full agreement, which would see the release of all the hostages in exchange for Israel ending the war and withdrawing from Gaza. And we heard from the family of U.S.-Israeli hostage Hirsch Goldberg Poland yesterday, who said if Netanyahu gets up in front of Congress and ends that speech without announcing a deal to bring the hostages home, the hostage families will consider that speech to be a failure. Jeff.
So, Raf, this is actually Netanyahu's first foreign trip since the war in Gaza started. We know this is a deeply divisive issue for Americans. Protests are planned tomorrow. What is expected from this visit beyond the speech we just talked about? Who is Netanyahu going to meet?
So we do think he is going to meet President Biden later this week, obviously complicated by the fact that the president is recovering from COVID. We also believe he will meet Vice President Kamala Harris, someone who may be increasingly important for the prime minister going forward as the potential nominee for the Democratic Party, the potential next president of the United States. There has been discussion about a possible meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and former President Trump. You'll remember the two men were in power at the same time. Trump running an extremely pro-Israel policy out of the White House, but then really turning on Netanyahu when Netanyahu refused to go along with the former president's false claims that he had won the 2020 election. So there's still a lot of friction in that relationship. And if that meeting does happen, it will be interesting to see if those two can patch their relationship up.
Ralph, it's important we talk about the situation in Gaza this morning. We understand Palestinians have been forced to evacuate Khan Yunis again after Israel launched a massive ground and air attack there. What's the latest?
Yeah, so this is the Israeli military sweeping back into Khan Yunis, back into Gaza's second city, a city that I've been to on these Israeli military tours. There's very little left of it, Joe. It is already very heavily destroyed. But Israel says Hamas is regrouping there, and so they are going back in. They are ordering residents to leave, including some people who have been staying in the so-called humanitarian zone near the coast. So this is people who left their homes already. They went to a place that Israel said would be safe, and now they are being told to leave once again. The Hamas-controlled health ministry says at least 70 people were killed yesterday. And Joe, the big picture here is that many fear that this is just going to be an endless war in Gaza, with the Israeli military sweeping into these areas, causing more destruction, killing Hamas, pulling out, Hamas regrouping, and then the Israelis going back in again. Joe.
All right. Raph Sanchez, a lot to cover this morning. Thank you so much.
And coming up, in the midst of this summer surge in COVID cases, there is some good news.
We'll take good news after the break, why instances of so-called long COVID do seem to be dipping. The doctor is in, up next.
We are back now with the latest in the legal saga surrounding Karen Reed. Reed is accused of killing her boyfriend back in 2022. Well, she is now set to stand trial once again in January. The new trial date comes after a judge declared a mistrial earlier this month after jurors could not reach a verdict. NBC News correspondent Erin McLaughlin has the details.
On Monday, dueling demonstrations outside a Massachusetts courthouse. Karen Reed supporters wearing pink, those supporting the prosecution in blue. Reed seen high-fiving people on the way into the hearing for a new trial. In a matter of minutes, the judge setting a new court date.
We need a trial date.
Karen Reed's second trial for the murder of her boyfriend. Boston police officer John O'Keefe now scheduled for January 27th, 2025. Almost 3 years after he was found unresponsive in the snow outside the home of a fellow police officer. Reed's lawyers also filing a motion to dismiss the new trial.
I assume whatever I end up doing on the motion to dismiss will be appealed.
After a judge declared a mistrial earlier this month in Reed's first trial, citing a hung jury. But Reed's defense team argues the original jury was actually only hung on the manslaughter charge, saying the jurors unanimously found her not guilty on the two remaining charges of second-degree murder and leaving the scene of a collision causing death during 5 days of deliberations. Her lawyers arguing if Reed was tried again on those counts, it would amount to double jeopardy. Prosecutors have asked the court to deny that request. During the original 9-week trial, the prosecution argued 44-year-old Reed intentionally backed her SUV into O'Keefe after a night of heavy drinking, leaving him to die.
The defendant drove her vehicle in reverse for 24.2 miles per hour for 62.5 feet.
While the defense argued the death was part of a cover-up by police.
Conflicts of interest? Doesn't matter. Just look the other way.
Legal experts say it's possible this may never go to trial again.
A lot of things could happen between now and the trial scheduled for January, and most of them are bad for the prosecution and good for the defense.
Our thanks to Erin McLaughlin for that report. Now, during the first trial, the defense alleged the lead investigator in the case ran a biased investigation, something that investigator has denied. He was suspended without pay this month. Let's now bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Cenedella. Thank you, Angela, for being here with us this morning. So roughly 3 weeks since that mistrial was declared, we hear that January is a new trial date, but there's Danny saying, hey, this might not even hit that. Why is that? Is it typical in a high-profile case to have such a quickly rescheduled retrial?
Right. So the prosecution in this case, just guns blazing, decided that they were going to retry this case. So after a hung jury and a mistrial is declared, the prosecution can choose to either rebring the charges or just drop the case entirely. Now, in this case, the prosecution said, we want to try this case actually by the end of 2024, so before 2025. But the reason why Danny is saying that there's a possibility this might not go on is because the judge gave them a date far away because she said she is sure that with the defense's motion to dismiss, which which is a big deal here, and a lot of legal questions, it is possible that both sides are going to appeal it. So when they appeal those, if the defense is found to have a real motion to dismiss here, it's possible that the two of those three charges could entirely just go away.
Let's talk about double jeopardy. My understanding is that if she had been found not guilty, then they couldn't try her again. That's double jeopardy. But here, Reed's lawyers are apparently going to try and make a case for double jeopardy. Explain this to us.
Yeah, it's a bit of an uphill battle, but I can see where they're arguing. And so for 2 out of those 3 charges, what they are saying is that jurors approached them and said that unanimous verdicts had been reached for 2 of those. So that is for the murder charge and also for fleeing from the scene of an injury or a death. So now what happened here, though, is that Reed's lawyers claim that during the trial that this was not considered appropriately. And so we'll see what happens.
Okay. And Angela, in addition to this trial date, the judge has scheduled a hearing on a motion to dismiss for next month, as you alluded to. So what could we expect? And if the judge dismisses this, then does that make everything null and void for January?
So the judge then could possibly dismiss 2 out of those 3 charges, but the third one, it appears, still remains to be up in contention. So that is the manslaughter charge. And so the prosecution could still move forward with that. But the prosecution strategy was really based in this whole murder allegation. And they kind of offered manslaughter as a secondary option, and even with that, other lesser charges. But with this question of double jeopardy, there's so many legal questions that the judge is going to have to consider at these oral arguments, at this hearing. And is a verdict officially rendered only when it's read in front of a courtroom, or is it rendered when all of the jurors themselves have decided? So it's possible that there could be a polling of each juror, like we also saw in that Murdoch case. We could see all of them being asked questions, and we're going to see arguments from both sides that are very intricate and legal over what the standard is, what the precedent is. It's murky here. There's not clear case law.
The interest is very high in this case, obviously, and there are people who support Reed. Is there a point where the prosecutor, who is elected, says, okay, politically, I might not want to keep going with this, or the cost of it, or anything like that?
So absolutely, especially because there are allegations in this case of misconduct and that there was some sort of conspiracy here. So first of all, the prosecutors could have dismissed charges at any point, and they could also have not said they're going to bring charges immediately, but they decided to just move forward with a lot of strength here. But it is possible, again, at this hearing, they could also dismiss charges, or after that, not bring the case.
So a lot still up in the air. Angela Senadella, as always, thank you so much.
As cases of COVID-19 rise again, there is a new study out which could give many of us some reassurance. It finds that people's chances of developing the long-term complications known as long COVID have dropped. Joining us now for more is NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, good morning. Good to see you. So before we get into that study, let's talk about the latest reaction on President Biden's COVID diagnosis. It's the 3rd time he's contracted the virus. He is up to date on his vaccines and his booster shots. I guess this is a reminder. You have the vaccine. That doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get COVID. The goal is to really improve with symptoms, right? And also just talk about what older Americans need to know about the current variants.
Yeah, that's right, Joe and Vicki. It's important to understand that vaccines can significantly reduce the risk of illness, hospitalization, and death, which is what we care about. They do not completely prevent infection. So I think this is especially true as the virus has evolved and we're seeing these new flirt variants emerge that can partially evade immunity even acquired from previous infections, like in the case of the president. If you're older, over the age of 80, like President Biden, the risk of severe outcomes are so incredibly high. That's why vaccines plus treatments like the president took, Paxlovid, have drastically reduced those risks.
You know, Dr. Patel, as we said, the new study finds long-term COVID cases seem to be getting rarer over the years. That's great news. Yeah. What do researchers think is behind that shift?
Yeah, Vicki, this is pretty incredible. We've been trying to tackle, like, what can we do to reduce the chances of long COVID? And I think researchers have identified several factors. One of the large factors is actually vaccination and this kind of widespread vaccination. That's about 70% of the reduction. 30% of the reduction, which might surprise some viewers, is actually from changes in the virus itself. So we know that there's not only better detection of the virus, we can sense it, we can get it from the antigen test and detect it pretty earlier, but the evolution of the virus itself, researchers have believed, have led to kind of lower chances of getting long COVID. That's overall good news as we're seeing a surge right now.
So the study isn't clear if these boosters that people get annually can help reduce your chance for developing long COVID. If I recall, the numbers of people getting the boosters are pretty low. Talk about why those are still important.
Yeah, so boosters, and now we're calling them updated vaccines, just so that you don't have to think about it, Joe and Vicki, that if you don't even remember how many shots you got or when you got your last shot, and if it's been more than a couple of months, then it's probably time for you to get an updated vaccine. They can still be helpful because, remember, these updated vaccines are tailored to kind of the most recent variant that we think is predominant in the world. So these are, and we're expecting, by the way, the next crop of updated vaccines to hit American pharmacies around September. So that's the timing so that you can also get that, get your flu shot, kind of be one and done with a set of shots and protect you for that winter surge. And again, reinforcing it helps with illness, it can help with hospitalization, and as we just talked about with long COVID.
So I did last year, got them all on the same day. Is that what you did?
Yeah, well, the study showed that it was more effective when you got the two of them together on the same day.
Okay, there you go. All right, Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, is there such a thing as a truly smart sweet?
After the break, I'll take you inside America's booming multi-billion-dollar candy industry and separate fact from fiction when it comes to those so-called alternative treats that you may be seeing in the grocery aisles. That's next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. Some money news. All those cookies, not the ones you eat, might just be staying on Google's web browser Chrome after all.
CNBC's Silvana now joins us now with more on that and other financial headlines. Good morning, Silvana.
Hey, Vicki. Hey, Joe. Good morning to you. Yeah, well, Google is scrapping a plan to remove cookies from its Chrome browser after years of promising to phase out those tiny packets of code designed to track users on the web. The reversal of this, well, it follows pushback from advertisers who are Google's biggest source of revenue. They argue the loss of cookies in Chrome will limit their ability to collect information for personalized ads. Google will now let users choose whether advertisers can track them. McDonald's is extending its $5 value meal through August after more than 90% of its restaurants voted in favor of the plan. In a memo, McDonald's says the $5 meal, which launched at the end of June, has helped increase customer traffic after higher prices drove customers to limit eating out. Rivals Burger King and Wendy's have also been running value meal promotions. And Mattel is expanding its line of diverse and inclusive Barbie dolls, the first ever blind Barbie and the first Black Barbie with Down's syndrome. They're part of the Fashionistas line, a range of dolls with more than 175 varieties of skin tone, eye and hair color, body types, and disabilities. Mattel says the new dolls were created in partnership with nonprofit advocacy groups. Both are available now at major retailers and online at the Mattel shop, guys.
That is awesome. Silvana, thank you so much.
You got it.
Well, Joe, if you've been down the candy aisle at the grocery store recently, you may have seen packaging that claims vegan, keto, and low-sugar treats. Since some health experts are calling sugar the new tobacco, we asked a few nutritionists and doctors if these alternative candies are really better for you. The one key thing they told me, always read the nutrition labels.
If sugar is the enemy, could these so-called healthy candies be our new best friends? The labels are dizzying. Less than a gram of sugar per serving. Keto-friendly, gluten-free, real fruit flavor. The latest products make up a growing part of the $12 billion candy industry.
If you have a sweet tooth like myself, let me show you some better choice options for candy.
Swap this for this. And they're not cheap. Some cost 6 times more than regular candy. So we went to the experts to learn whether these new candies are a healthier choice. Obesity specialist Dr. Melanie J., endocrinologist Dr. Rekha Kumar, and registered dietitian and nutritionist Maya Feller tasted the candies, read the ingredient labels, and gave us their hot takes.
Show of hands, is there such a thing as healthy candy? None of you put your hands up. Wait, okay, so why do you say no?
Well, I think it's a misnomer. Healthy candy, some might be better than others, but I don't think it's healthy.
Healthy candy seems like an oxymoron to me. Healthy, to me, implies nutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants.
But what about the labels calling these candies an excellent source of fiber that comes from ingredients like soluble tapioca fiber and chicory root fiber?
Why is there so much fiber in these candies?
So that it looks good on the food label. Some of the fibers are a little sweet, I was told, so they can enhance some of the sweetness.
Fiber increases fullness. There are people that are trying to restrict their intake. I certainly don't recommend doing it through consuming fiber in candy.
We asked the companies about the fiber and sugar alcohols or substitutes. While Kiss My Keto didn't respond, Behave said plant-based fibers like soluble tapioca fiber and chicory root fiber replace sugar, which offsets blood sugar spikes for diabetic customers and do not trigger GI distress. And Smart Sweets told us that instead of artificial ingredients, they use more natural ones with fiber, which also adds texture. Plus, they say their sweets have optimal digestibility. Many of the candies also advertise they're low in sugar or net carbs, thanks to sugar substitutes such as allulose and stevia. While the experts say they're not concerned about the ingredients in these candies, they warn people to be aware of how their bodies may react to excess fiber and sugar alcohols, such as erythritol, especially kids.
I think it could hurt their gut.
And remember, kids are smaller, so their metabolism is a little different.
But the experts say there is truth in the claims that these candies may slow your body's absorption of sugar because we don't metabolize these candies as easily, and they're less likely to cause a spike in blood sugar, which is beneficial to people with diabetes who need to watch their sugar intake. And when it comes to chocolates and labels like organic or fair trade, that doesn't mean they're lower in calories or fat. A Reese's peanut butter cup has 105 calories and 6 grams of fat, while the Justin's Organic has 130 calories and 10 grams of fat.
My concern is really in that the way people are interpreting what all of these are.
Yeah.
And if they're interpreting it as an alternative to a balanced diet, that's a concern.
What do you say when it comes to weight control? Are these candies better for people?
If they're eating a ton of other candy and there's a lower calorie alternative or one that's not going to spike their blood sugar, then this might be better.
Is this just really clever marketing?
Yeah, it's fantastic marketing. Consumers look at this and it's smart sweets. If you eat this, you're being smart, right? All of this guilt that we have around eating things that have been sweetened, we're now absolved. If we switch over and we have a smart sweet, or we're shameless, or we behave.
Bottom line, experts say these are still sweet treats meant to be eaten in moderation and not a substitute for a balanced diet.
Don't fool yourself into thinking that this is healthy. Also, really learn how to read those food labels. Look at how many servings are in it. Look at how much sugar.
You know, Joe, here's what else might surprise you. Our panel of doctors and nutritionists said a regular candy bar, like a Payday, a Babe Ruth, is actually healthier for you. It's better than a gummy treat because they contain protein and other nutrients and will keep you fuller longer. So
Interesting.
They're just not marketed that way. You know, you don't look at a Payday and go, well, that's a protein bar.
I think you guys see Snickers do the satisfy you thing a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. That's interesting. But the bottom line is you can't have a candy diet. That's not going to solve it.
Dang it. Tell it to my kids.
No candy diet. All right.
All right, well, coming up, we are just days away from the kickoff to the Paris Summer Games. And this morning, the City of Light is buzzing over beds.
Yeah, that's right. After the break, the Olympic athletes sounding off over their new gigs as they arrive ahead of Friday's opening ceremony. Stay with us. That's next.
Suni. Welcome back. As Vice President Kamala Harris launches her presidential bid on the internet, people cannot stop talking about some uncanny connections with two popular TV shows. The Simpsons' longtime showrunner Al Jean shared what she called the Simpsons prediction I'm proud to be a part of, posting a side-by-side photo of VP Harris and an adult Lisa Simpson as president wearing eerily similar outfits. I mean, the purple blazer, the pearls, right? Meanwhile, fans, creator of the HBO show Veep, they were quick to point out that the political comedy is about a female VP who runs for president only after the president decides not to run for a second term. Veep's creator took to X to remind fans that his Emmy Award-winning series was, quote, all made up. But the parallels are pretty clear.
So TV is psychic. That's what we're saying.
A hilarious vibe. Because, you know, she goes in, Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character, and they're like, oh, it's like a very mixed reaction that she's going to run.
Yeah. All right. We are now just 3 days away from the 2024 Summer Olympics opening ceremony in Paris.
And as more athletes arrive in the French capital, the early buzz from the Olympic Village is all about their cardboard beds. For more, we want to bring in NBC's chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons, who is in Paris. It's great to see you, Keir.
It's great to see you too, Vicky. Bonjour, Joe. Bonjour, Vicky. You're right. We're getting down to basics here. It's all about the Olympic beds. But beds are important, right? 3 days to go before the opening ceremony. Something else I got to tell you. Team USA, they're looking really relaxed. This morning, a view of the Olympic Village from some of the biggest names in sports. Gymnastics superstar Simone Biles posting a picture of her bed and turning the camera on her teammate with a message. Good night, Rumi.
Nice meal in the village.
Her teammate, Suni Lee, posting a day in the life.
We're going to the Olympic Village today, and I'm so excited.
On the bus with Simone and settling into their new digs for the next couple of weeks.
Hey guys, I'm giving you a room tour. This is my cardboard bed.
Organisers say those cardboard beds promoting sustainability, already being tested to extremes by international athletes.
The structure of this bed will collapse if there's more than one person on it. So 1, 2.
Not everyone finding the sleeping conditions funny.
It's actually rock solid.
Suni Lee responding, OMG, I might cry. While other Team USA members showing off their Nike and Ralph Lauren swag on TikTok.
It is all so cute. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to wear it.
This post by America's Olympic fencers revealing the amazing range of meals in a city known for its delicious cuisine. Athletes have been looking forward to it.
After the games, I will be eating everything.
Others, all about the ice cream.
In the Olympic Village, athletes get free ice cream.
French President Macron finding time to visit the village, posing for selfies, while the Olympic refugee team with a message of peace as these games begin amid global challenges. While far from Paris, the world's top surfers posting about their arrival at the Olympic venue in Tahiti. Their floating Olympic village, a cruise ship. Now, we have studied those Tahiti pictures hard, as you can imagine, guys, with maybe just a little bit of jealousy. As far as we can tell, there are no cardboard beds there. So just another reason why maybe Tahiti is the best place to be for these games.
That may be the spot. Hard to beat Paris, but Tahiti could do it.
I forgot about the food thing, how they're tempted by food in Paris that they definitely should not eat until the games are over.
Oh, a croissant or two can't hurt, right, Kier?
Yeah, it's very carefully made. It's good for Olympians.
Right. You can do a segment on that. Are these croissants good to eat if you're training for the Olympics?
They taste good, I'm sure of that.
We know that much. All right. Kier Simmons, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kier.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues, though, right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.